So before I went to college, I had no idea how much it actually costs to live on your own in this world. For me personally, I had wonderful parents that paid for each one of my living expenses when I was in high school and living at home, so I had absolutely no experience in this. It was a major shock for me when I moved out on my own and I had to start paying for my basic expenses. I realized just how expensive things can get just to get the basics, and just to survive in life, things can add up very quickly. For full transparency's sake, I was one of the lucky ones, and my parents and grandparents paid for my entire college tuition, and they paid for both my rent and basic necessities like food and water, stuff like that. So I was a lucky one, and I didn't actually have to pay for any of that when I was at college. And how that worked is I actually paid for the things with my own money up front, and then they would reimburse me for the money I spent later. So in order to do this, I had to track every one of my expenses while I was at college, and in today's video, I'm going to share with you exactly how much money that was. And I hope this video gives you guys a good idea just how expensive college and living on your own is. I went to the University of Minnesota and graduated with a Bachelor's of Computer Science, and it took me just 3 years to do so, which consisted of 6 semesters and 1 class I took over the summer. Now, the reason it only took me 3 years instead of the classic 4 for a bachelor's degree was because I came in with 40 college credits that I earned in high school, which was about 1/3 of the credits I needed in order to graduate, excluding all the college requirements and course requirements I had to take while in college. Also, keep in mind that I lived in Minnesota, so the University of Minnesota tuition was in-state tuition, so keep that in mind as well. All right, without further ado, the breakdown of how much tuition I paid per year is as follows. In 2019, I was a junior in high school, and during that time, I was taking college courses through the school, and I paid $145 for those courses. 2020 was the year I graduated from high school, so that's going to consist of 1 semester while I was in high school taking college courses and 1 semester while I was at the University of Minnesota. The total tuition I paid for just 1 semester of college was $8,911.40. Now, 2021 was my first full year where I took 2 semesters at the University of Minnesota, and as you can see, the price will get a little bit bigger. So during the year of 2021, I spent $19,985.41 for 2 full semesters as a full-time college student at the University of Minnesota. And that is a lot of money. 2021 was the year I took a summer class, so this is why this is going to be a little bit more expensive than a traditional just 2-semester year. If you guys didn't know already, the University of Minnesota, as well as a bunch of other institutions, have their tuition set up where if you're taking more than 13 credits per semester, where you're a full-time student, you're going to be charged the flat tuition rate, and any extra credit you take above 13 will be free of charge. However, if you're taking under 13 credits per semester, you're going to be charged a per credit hour rate instead of just the flat tuition rate. So my summer class that I took was actually charged per credit hour since I was only taking 4 credits for this summer semester. So summer classes can get really expensive, and if you guys don't have to take summer classes, I recommend not doing so. Moving on to 2022, this year tuition cost me $17,517.76. This is a more realistic number to what a full-time student's gonna look like over just a full year of school. Then in 2023, again, I only did 1 semester of school because I graduated in the spring, so it only cost me $4,947.96 in tuition. The reason this is much lower than the other amounts is because 1, it was only 1 semester, and 2, I only took 2 classes, which was 6 credits. And only 2 classes cost me $5,000. That's a lot of money for just a couple of classes. And that brings my total cost of college tuition at the University of Minnesota, can I get a drum roll please? $51,507.53. Now that was the overall price of my college tuition, but I actually got a couple of scholarships which brought that price down, and my scholarships were $11,290, which brings my actual price I paid for college, let me do some quick math here, to $40,217.53. Now that's $40,000 over 3 years for just solely the price of my college tuition, which means I spent $13,000 every year just to go to school at the University of Minnesota. Now I graduated in 3 years and I got $11,000 in college tuition from scholarships. So this $40,000 is actually what I think on the lower end of what people actually pay for an in-state university. And I didn't fail a single class at my time. So this number could balloon very quickly if you aren't doing fantastic in college. Now that cost of tuition also includes my dorm and my food plan I had during my freshman year. However, for my sophomore and junior years of college, I tracked every one of my expenses and this is what they totaled to. So for my sophomore year, 2021 to 2022, I lived with 4 other guys in a half of a duplex, which was a 5-bedroom unit, and it was about a 20-minute walk from campus. This cost me $679 a month. Other than that, on things like food, school supplies, hygiene products, over that 12-month window, I spent $7,708 on this, which comes out to about $642 a month. Adding that onto my rent payment, living in Minneapolis for me cost me $1,321 a month. And if you add that all up, it's gonna be $15,852. Moving along to my junior year, 2022 to 2023, this time I moved much closer to campus. It's about a 5-minute walk. I again lived with 4 other people, but the house was definitely a downgrade. So what I paid in rent for my own room was $673 a month. So for this year, I actually only spent 9 months at that house on campus because I graduated in May and moved back in with my dad at that time because I started work in July. So I stopped tracking my expenses when I moved home. But in those 9 months, I spent a total of $4,846, which comes out to $538 a month. Adding that onto my rent payment, and I come out to $1,211 per month to live on campus in Minneapolis. And over that 9-month period, that comes out to be $12,918 that I spent on living. So over those 2 years going to school at the University of Minnesota, living on or near campus, I spent $28,770 just on my living expenses over that time frame. And if you combine that with my overall price of tuition over the 3 years I went to school at the University of Minnesota, you come out with $68,987. So I hope this video gives you a better idea of what going to a 4-year university actually costs. This video is not meant to scare you or dissuade you from going to college and pursuing your dreams. I want you guys to have a perspective of how much these colleges actually cost you to get the degree that you want to pursue. Because I know for me and for a lot of people, they have no idea how much college actually costs or how much it costs to live on their own. And because of this, they make poor financial decisions just for the sole fact that no one ever told them what these decisions are actually going to cost them. And I think that's a damn shame. But to end this video off, I wanted to give you guys a couple of quick tips to help you lower the price you're gonna pay on your college. My first tip is, if they're available to you, take as many college courses while you're still in high school as you can. Like I said, I was able to get 40 credits before I even stepped foot in a university, and they covered a bunch of my requirements for my gen eds, which are honestly stupid, but that's a whole different story. If you can get those credits while you're in high school for a far cheaper rate than what it's going to cost you if you go through the university, do it. Do it at all costs. And from talking with other students and from my personal experience, they're not much harder than just a regular old high school course. So if you can get the college credits while you have to waste your time at these classes anyway, you might as well do it. My second tip is to research thoroughly and choose the school you're going to go to wisely. Now there's a bunch of ways you can lower your overall cost of tuition. A couple things that come to mind is go to an in-state school or maybe schools with reciprocity. I know for me, I lived in Minnesota, but I could also go to the University of Madison using the in-state tuition because they're so close together. Or maybe you can consider going to a community college for your first 2 years of school and then transfer over to a 4-year university to finish up your degree. It honestly doesn't matter what you do. I just want you guys to know that there's options out there. You don't just have to go to a 4-year university because that's the only thing you know that works. My third tip is to live with roommates and maybe consider living a little bit further away from campus, and your rent is going to be cheaper. I was able to live in Minneapolis for under $700 a month, close to campus, and that's pretty nice. I know people that were paying $1,200, $1,300 a month to live in the middle of campus at these really nice apartment buildings, and honestly, they're a scam. You can live in a nice 5-bedroom place, a house, a duplex, close by. Maybe it's a little bit further walk, but it's gonna save you so much money in the long run. And my fourth and final tip is a small one, but a big one at the same time, and it still kind of ticks me off to this day, and it's don't buy class books, especially from the university bookstore. Now, I made this mistake big time my freshman year. I bought every single book that it said on the class list that I needed, and honestly, I didn't use any of them. 8 out of 10 times, the course textbook isn't actually required for the class, even if it says it's required online. And in the rare cases it is required, 9 out of 10 times there's gonna be a free version of it somewhere on the internet. If all else fails, I'm sure Amazon has the course textbook for way cheaper, or maybe try checking Facebook Marketplace. Old students really wanna get rid of their textbooks because they're never gonna use them again. So check your university Facebook page. People are probably selling it on there too. All right, that's all I got for you folks today. Thank you all for watching. I hope it was informational or entertaining at the least. And get on out of here.